Today I will take the fourth section of the poem Ode to the West Wind by Shelley. As I told you, the West Wind is regarded as a symbol which will bring about the golden age of mankind. Shelley was a romantic revolutionary poet who is affected by the French Revolution. He was dissatisfied with the existing order of things. He hated political tyranny and the orthodox Christianity. He also hated wickedness, corruption, and evil, which made human life very miserable and unhappy. He wanted to liberate mankind from the chain of political, religious, and intellectual slavery. This attitude is clearly reflected in the poem. The west wind is depicted as a symbol of those forces which will sweep away old order of life, old institutions, and everything that is conventional in the bad sense. In the last stage, the west wind symbolizes the force that will become perfect, and when beauty and love will govern the universe. Shelley expresses the hope that his dead thoughts will quicken a new birth and will therefore bring about a revolutionary change in the social, political, and religious structure of the society. Also, the poet addresses the west wind and praises its power. He describes how the west wind controls the rest of nature and it blows across every part of the earth. It has the power both to preserve and destroy. The wind controls the seasons, clouds, seas, and all other aspects of nature. The west wind is a source of inspiration for the poet. The west wind is a metaphor for the awe inspiring spirit of nature. The speaker, he finally, in these lines which I am going to read, expresses his desire that had he been, a dead leaf or a cloud or a sea wave, then he could have, shared the strength of the west wind. He says, if I were a dead leaf, thou mightest bear, if I were a swift cloud to fly with thee, a wave to pant beneath thy power and share the impulse of thy strength, only less free than thou, O controllable. In these lines, he is expressing his great desire and also, his helpless state, that he has become old and now he is unable to bring about any change in the world single handedly. So he is, imploring the west wind to have the same strength that the west wind has. He says, had he been a part of nature, had he been a leaf which is carried by the west wind, or had he been a cloud which flies with the west wind, or had he been a sea wave which pant beneath to move breathlessly, which moves breathlessly under the power of the west wind and share the impulse of thy strength. So he says, had he been either of the three, either a sea wave or a dead leaf or a cloud, then he would have shared the strength of the west wind, and he would have felt the experience of the strength of the west wind. But he says, as a man, he is now helpless and he is not able to bring about any change all alone. See, so he is seeking the help of the west wind. He says, oh controllable. So he says, had he been a wave or a cloud or a leaf, he would have had the strength of the west wind. But only thing is that it is uncontrollable. The west wind is controllable, whereas he is not as free as the west wind. He says, O uncontrollable, if even I were as in my boyhood, and could be the comrade of thy wanderings over heaven, as then when to outstrip thy sky speed. Outstrip means to outstrip means to surpass. Sky speed, he's talking about the swift motion of the west wind. And now he is, he has this nostalgic feeling that, and he is reminded of the past when, as a boy, he had the same strength as the west wind. At that time, he could run fast, and he says he could be a companion. Comrade means companion of the wanderings of the or the blows of the west wind, which moves over heaven, as then went to outstrip thy sky speed. He says as a boy he had the power to surpass or to outsmart the speed, the swift motion of the west wind, but now he feels helpless, he doesn't have the strength, so he is imploring the west wind to give him the strength so that he could bring about certain changes in the world. He says, as then went to outstrip thy sky speed, scarce seemed a vision. There was a time when, as a boy, he could, outrun the west wind, but he says now it scarce hardly, it appears to him as a dream. It doesn't appear to him as a reality, rather, it appears to him as a vision, as a dream. I would never have striven as thus with thee in prayer in my sore need. Sore is urgent. He says, had he been a boy, or had he have the same strength which he had as a boy, then he would not have made this prayer to the west wind to help him or to give him the strength or to be a part of him, so he could bring out the change in the world. So this shows, these lines they express a personal note when he expresses his helplessness because of his age. He says, oh, lift me as a wave, a leaf, a cloud, I fall upon the thorns of life, I bleed. A heavy weight of ours has chained and bowed one too like thee, tameless and swift and proud. These lines are very important. He says now these three adjectives, they sum up the strength of the west wind. It is, the west wind is tameless, uncontrollable, it is swift, very fast in its speed, and it is very proud also. He says once upon a time he was also tameless, uncontrollable, very swift, very agile, very fast, and he was also proud of his strength. But now he says, lift me as a wave, a leaf, or a cloud. He is requesting the west wind to lift him either as a sea wave or as a leaf or as a cloud. He says he has fallen upon the thorns of life. Thorns of life are the anxieties, worries of the life, and the also the conditions that prevailed at his time, in his time, with which he was highly dissatisfied. So he's expressed his helplessness both on the personal and public front. Shelley did not like the moral and social conventions of the society of his time. He thought that these conventions were evil. His spirit was always in revolt against these conventions. So he says, oh, lift me as a wave, a leaf, a cloud, I fall upon the thorns of life, I bleed. These lines express his utter, helplessness. He suffered heavily in life for his violation of customary law. He was even denied the guardianship of his own children. He feels that his untamable spirit, uncontrollable spirit, has been at last fully controlled or hampered. He feels that it has been crushed by the burden of these sufferings throughout his life. He is bleeding. Bleeding means he is suffering a lot, and he says now he is unable to bear the burden of life and he is bleeding, and so he is requesting the west wind to lift lift him either as a wave or a leaf or a cloud, so he could unburden himself from the burdens of life. He is broken and helpless, but you know he has not lost all hopes. He prays to the wild spirit of the west wind to lift him and sustain him. One too like thee. Shelley is self conscious. He thinks that he is as tameless and impetuous and proud as a thinking man as the west wind itself. So he in these lines is praying to the west wind to lift him from the earth and impart him its energy so that he may be able to break through the restraints and become light and fleet like the leaf, cloud, and wave under the wind's impulse. Shelley's appeal is all the more significant if it is remembered that by his nature he is as wild, free, and tameless as the uncontrollable wind itself. The note of personal pessimism sounded here is quite a characteristic of Shelley, who was especially afflicted on this occasion by many untoward circumstances. Perhaps his supposed unfitness for the guardianship of his children by Harriet was preying upon him, was disturbing him, added to the sadness of her tragic death. Then there was the haunting presentiment of approaching death and sense of loneliness. So, these a heavy weight of ours has chained and bowed one like to like the tameless and swift and proud. So he says the burden of life, the sufferings that he has suffered in his life, they have put him in chains and bowed him like bowed him to a bowed him so much that a person like him who has been as swift and as uncontrollable as the swift west wind is now suffering, and he wants to be free from life. So the poem here expresses a note of pessimism, but in the fifth stanza we will find that this pessimism is replaced by optimism, that we will discuss in the next lecture. Thank you.